76, I think it's either 75 or 76. A breakthrough happens. There's finally something to compare it to because Atari essentially helps to create the commercial video game industry when they release the Atari 2600. And the breakthrough with this thing isn't the graphics or anything. It isn't the box, which is a very nice, very well designed box. Like I wish,
Yeah.
yeah,
Beautiful
like,
console.
beautiful. But it's the interchangeable cartridges because you didn't have to buy a new machine for every game like an arcade, and it wasn't something as primitive as the Magnavox Odyssey. You could just kind of swap your experiences instantly, and there's something just like groundbreaking about that. And you know, they're really like they become more of like a software based company instead of like building the arcade cabinets. They're more focusing on like making the games. Like someone, of course, is gonna make the console, but there's a point where like consoles are lasting a lot longer than like their lifespan is nowadays. Where the average console lifespan nowadays is probably about 4 or 5 years before we move on to the next one. I mean, you might have some outliers like PlayStation 2, which I mean, PlayStation 3 was still out and they were still making PlayStation 2 games until about 2014. Game system came out in 2000. But most of them nowadays last about like 5 years max before they're already moving on to the next one. But 2600, this lasted from about 75, 76 until I would say 82 or 83 when the sequel came out, the 5200. And
Well,
along with
actually,
that, oh, sorry.
they were still releasing new games for it up until like 89, I believe. Yeah. I mean, it wasn't of the steady flood. It was,
Yeah, yeah.
from the console's release in the late 70s to the crash, it was just a constant stream of things. Whereas after that, it was here's 5 or 6 games a year. Um, but yeah, it had an insanely long lifespan.
Yeah. I often think about that with like other consoles because there are some um that like release games like far later than you would expect. Like for example, the Sega Dreamcast. I know the Sega Dreamcast is very popular with like homebrew developers, and like there's still games being released for that system. Um, and I know like support used to last a lot longer. Like the original Nintendo Entertainment System, that was still you could still like call in to get repairs for that thing until like the mid to late 90s when there were
Yeah.
like three consoles later.